CEO Romano of MLS Transfers and the host of Managing Expectations, Tom Bogert. Tom Bogert, how are you doing today?
I'm good, guys. How are you? How are you enjoying Podcast Row? Is this electric? Is this everything that you hoped it would be?
I mean, it's all about making connections, right? So, I mean, having someone like yourself here, this is truly an honor.
Look at that, buttering it up. That's nice. All right, ask me anything, whatever you want to know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so anytime I have a new guest join the podcast, I always ask them how they get into soccer. So how'd you get into it, Tom?
Oh, I could ramble on that forever, but I guess the short of it,
got time?
soccer's kind of in my blood. Just, since I was young, always had a ball at my feet. My dad played collegiately. My sister played collegiately. And it wasn't like if I was playing, it was just like part of life, the same way that, I don't know, like breathing or eating is just like, yeah, soccer is just part of me. So played obviously all throughout my youth. Figured out at some point in high school that, maybe 5'7", not exactly fast, not exactly a great touch. Like maybe I'm not going to go pro. It's good enough to play in college, but that's how I was able to kind of transition into caring about writing and journalism and everything. But yeah, I was able to extend the career through college, and now I'm, in central New Jersey. You can find me on being just a men's league hardo, and I apologize to anybody I've kicked or yelled at. So I'm a different person on the field, but yeah, that's how I've gotten into soccer and then remained in soccer.
Man, you're always tweeting about your dad still playing 60 men's leagues. I mean,
he's in a tournament right now, right? In Florida?
Yeah. I wish I played it better. Like if it wasn't on the same weekend as this. Like last year, I was like, why did I go? This would have been like hilarious to just see and watch. But yeah, that dude's a maniac. He's awesome. Like, he's gonna be playing until he can't physically move anymore. And like again, like 35 years, that'll be me. Like when I can't like move anymore, that's when I'll stop playing.
Got to carry the torch.
Exactly. I was already joking with friends that got starting recruitment for those, over 50 tournaments. And it's never too early to start scouting.
For sure.
So you did mention you played in college a little bit, and I actually have some of your stats here. Oh yeah, I found it. So 20 starts in your sophomore year, 20 games in your sophomore year, 9 starts on the back line. That is.
I played Kane University. I was average white guy, so I made minutes at center mid, right back, left back, wings, started forward. I kind of filled in well. We had a lot of really good like technical kids. And so again, I was just smart enough to kind of play anywhere. But again, like if I was better, I would have been 20 starts.
But 2 goals in your junior year with only 9 games played. Did you have an injury? Is that why you stopped playing?
Yeah, a little bit in and out, stuff like that. New coach who finally had his first recruiting class, all that. You know what I mean? Nobody makes excuses. But yeah, some injuries, some a little bit of that. But yeah, we were good.
So I don't know if you remember, but your bio here has a couple of like yearbook questions. I want to see if they're the same answers. So favorite TV show?
I'd probably say The Wire now, or
The Wire now.
Sopranos.
Breaking Bad back then.
Loved that show too.
Where would you have traveled back in time?
If somebody has found this and made fun of me for this, I remember the answer was 1776 to see the start of America, because we were sitting in an auditorium all day. Can I curse? All goddamn day. And it was, let's go through the concussion protocol. Let's go through the NCAA rules and eligibility. It was fucking 8 hours of just nonstop bland meetings. And then it was like, last thing is like, oh, we got to fill out your bios. So all of us are just like making jokes all day, trying to get through it. And we're just all putting the dumbest answers. Like a couple guys had stuff even stupider than that like the website just didn't put an answer because they're like, we can't put this on. So again, I'm not some weird like nationalistic guy. It was 18 years old and joking around with the boys. So that's the background story for that one.
And the last one, favorite food?
Chipotle and pizza. That remains that for me.
Still Chipotle?
Yeah, I have that too much. That's why I need to reset the diet here. New year, new me, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So you mentioned after school you got into MLS. We all know. So how'd that all come about?
Yeah. So I was freelancing while in college. I got Kane is 20 miles outside of New York City, so that helped a lot with potential internships. I was with CBS. I was with SNY, which people locally know. That's the TV channel that has the New York Mets. It's a sports station. So I was, both places liked me enough that I was freelancing while in school. I was doing some like high school football newsers for like a newspaper. Like, man, let me tell you, that's humbling. You not only do you write a high school football news game, and again, like I was freelancing, so I wasn't on any of the good games. Not only that, you have to do the box score yourself. So I'm sitting there with a little notebook. Number 3 completes pass to number 4 plus 12 yards. So that was something. But yeah, I always knew I wanted to be in sports, soccer particularly, but I was ambitious, hopeful for anything. So yeah, I was with SNY doing like TV production. They kept me around to write for the website. And then when I graduated, I was freelancing with them, both on TV production, both with writing. I was sending pitches to anywhere that would even respond to an email. So I was lucky enough to get articles, a couple with 442, which was pretty wild. And a couple with The Guardian liked the piece. And then, I was talking to MLS Soccer, the MLSsoccer.com editor at the time, Simon Borg. And I sent him a list of article ideas that I was pretty proud of. And he was like, hey, Tom, like, thanks for these. Don't want any of them. I was like, that's tough. But he's like, I like some of your writing samples. Like, do you have time to kind of chat? And again, like, Simon saw something in me, brought me in, gave me an opportunity, and kept giving me more chances. He's the one who pushed me into, like, news breaking. To be honest with you, I was concerned. I was scared because, like, you're only as good as your sources. Like, what if I didn't get sources? Then I just wouldn't be doing it. I was like, well, my opinion matters when I, like, analyze a game. I can always, like, a game will always be on. I can always, and he's like, I promise you can do this, and I promise you, like, everybody can watch a game and have an opinion. He's like, I think that you can do this. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to. So, shout out to Simon Borg for all that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was going to ask you about that. Like, everybody knows, you always bring all MLS news, whether it's players coming in, players going out. I guess it's all about just building those connections with GMs, agents. I mean, whoever you can build connections with.
Yeah, man. It's trying to do the right thing, ask the right questions. Like, again, people can tell if you're hardworking. People can tell if you're knowledgeable. People can tell if you're in it for clout. The people, like, you can get found out pretty quickly. Like, again, I know that people don't like me, and I like any other human being. But I one thing I hang my hat on is, like, I'm me, and, like, you can tell pretty quickly if you're gonna like me or not. And I think that that's a good, like, there's nothing, like, too fake. Like, I try to be pretty direct, and again, that doesn't work for a lot of people, and that's completely fine. But I'm content with that, and, like, it doesn't waste their time. If you don't like me, like, and speaking of people who don't like me, assume that I don't do any work. I just get, I sit next to Don Garber's desk, and he hands me things as if I don't actually report, and that's fine. People can say whatever they want. And
I was going to say this. I was going to say, or people think that you steal their information and then, block you on Twitter.
That wasn't even stealing information, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. Apparently that's happening. That was, I think I just kept beating the same person on stories. I got upset, didn't want to see it anymore. So
have you ever like broke a story maybe that you weren't supposed to, or did you ever like have somebody be like, oh, why did you say that? I told you that in confidence.
Thankfully not the latter. I've been very good at that, because that's a one-way street to break in a relationship. If you take something out of context. Like, I've had people be like, I understand that I said that, but, like, I didn't think that the reaction was going to be what it was, because that's why people are careful. And you have to be, because, like, if that happens, then they're less likely to be honest and open, and then it just makes for worse content down the line. So, like, it's always trying on a push-pull of trying to make sure that, like, all right, like, this is what he meant. Like, all right, maybe he misspoke. I'm not going to take that quote out of context or whatever. I think people understand, like, in a perfect world, I wouldn't be breaking, like, if talking to a club person, like, I wouldn't be breaking news, like, right? Like, they want to announce, they don't want anybody to know anything. They don't want rumors like it, but they understand that it's part of the world. And, like, again, if you go about it the right way, if you have the relationships, they're generally understanding. But I will say there was, after the Gareth Bale news, that was not a lot of people, not some people weren't thrilled about that. But again, like, it's the nature of the business, like, dude, and these are low level stuff. Like, I think of, like, one of my mentors, Sam Stachel, like, that dude reported stuff that, ended up in an investigation and the Real Salt Lake owner having to sell. I can't imagine the shitstorm that he went through to report that. That's why, like, Sam is a goat for me. He's still a gold standard. Like, what he does is, like, some, like, the deep stories that he's able to get into. So again, me just talking about, like, transfers right now, like, yeah, sometimes people get annoyed, but it's not at the same level of Sam doing something like real expose journalism. So again, like, this is all low level compared to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Athletic's awesome, and I mean, I'm glad you brought up Sam, because the Athletic, they put out an article recently talking about the potential of MLS establishing a intra-league transfer market. Yeah. With that said, MLS could potentially, buy and sell players within the league for actual money. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'm glad that they had, a deeper story on that, because I'd heard that last winter, and they had talked about it themselves, the Athletic, Sam and Paul, to be specific, when they did their yearly anonymous GM survey. It was like 21 out of 21 people they talked to said, we want this. Like, so, like, I can tell you agents want it. I can tell, like, players with teams want it. Like, allocation money, it is very useful, and it like, again, trades are unique to like American sports, and so like it does serve a purpose. I don't think that that's like a rule that I'd be desperate to change, but I would prefer it to be like real money, and I think that opens things up because clubs only have a finite amount of GAM, right? Yeah. But Atlanta United have an endless pocket of money, so and like there's a couple examples. Like I reported that Chicho Arango could possibly be traded, like. It's more there's only a certain amount of GAM that any club could offer. Like if you open that up to real money transfers, like that's going to go up, up, up because again, there is no budget on that. It's only whatever you want to spend. So again, like I think that would be a good change. I understand why things take a little bit of time to change because they had to be careful earlier. But again, like I think the league continues to grow. The U22 initiative was, I think, one of my favorite kind of new rules recently. Like that was like, I think things are all trending in the right direction, and this would just be another like logical step at some point, whether it's this summer, whether it's next winter, or whenever it is, like that it's being discussed so seriously in the near term future, I think is a good sign.
Yeah, that would be huge for helping the league to further progress.
Yeah.
Next step is also probably increasing the salary cap as well.
Yeah. I appreciate a lot of the, like, there's a lot of good analysis of, all right, okay, should it be another DP spot? Should they just take away DP spots and increase the cap and, like, let teams do what they do? Like, I understand all of the schools of thought. Like, I don't mind a salary cap. Maybe that's just, you grow up with American sports, you understand it. But, like, again, like, there's really good debates on, like, what exactly, like, should be the next path forward. These are difficult discussions. But, again, like, that's, like upping the salary cap or taking it away or doing whatever, like these are all like big, like high level, like thoughts and discussions to like shape the trajectory of the league. Like, I don't know, these things are super interesting to me, and they are obviously very nuanced and difficult to talk.
Yeah, they are. And yesterday we sat in with Ernst Tanner, listening to him talk about where he believes MLS currently sits, and he said he believes they're the 10th best league in the world, and he got asked, where does he see the league in 10, 20 years? And he said, just outside the top 5. I mean, do you think that's crazy, or do you see that happening?
So I do see that happening. I'm probably even a little bit more like bullish on where the league is right now. Like maybe it's, I don't think it's 6th in the world right now. Like Brazil, I don't think people give like, cause people say, oh, the 6th best league, maybe it's Belgium or the Netherlands, which is like the top teams in the Netherlands and Belgium are better than here. But the Brazilian league is super strong. The Argentine league is as well. So MLS might be in that like 7 or 8 range. Like again, like and like it's close. And like even what Ernst was saying, he's like, oh, if you say it's 9th, if you say it's 11th, I don't care. It's around here. And I will say with Ernst, he would be, if he thinks that the MLS is the 25th best league in the world, he would have said it. He doesn't do things like this where he doesn't feel the need to say the right thing or like, oh, like I need to promote him. Like he just says what he thinks. And again, it's another person who people don't like him sometimes, but he is who he is. And it's like pretty quickly it's on. I appreciate his honesty and transparency. So like that wasn't just like MLS guy saying something good about MLS. Yeah. Like that was a guy who's like, this is genuinely what I think as somebody who's like a leader in this industry from Germany to Austria to here.
Yeah, I mean, getting somebody like Ernst Tanner not only has helped the union, but I think the league as a whole, where you look, where the union aren't spending a ton of money, but they're spending the money wisely. Do you think that's a trend that MLS GMs could start to follow that the union do?
Yeah, I mean, look, like the basic principle for a salary cap league is you have to be efficient with your money spent. And the union are better at that than anybody. Like, just look at some of the deals they've got, man. Like, Kai Wagner was like German third tier, like 150,000. It was a nominal transfer fee. They picked up Kasper Schibelko for free and traded him. Like Brenner Aronson coming through, Mark McKenzie. Like they do put a lot of money into their academy. So their first team spend is low. It's one of the lowest in the league, but they do spend a lot of money on their academy. And then you read articles, you talk to people who like San Jose, right? Like I was talking to somebody with the union yesterday about like, is it weird that like you guys were, kind of a laughingstock 8 years ago, 5 years ago, like when Ernst was coming in and when Jim Curtin was starting to his trajectory and development as a coach and everything. It was like, oh, this team sucks. They've never made the playoff, never won a playoff game, all this. And I was like, does it feel weird to you that now people are like, the best case scenario for San Jose is the Philadelphia Union West? And it's like, yeah, man, it's pretty crazy that like people are talking about us as this like shining example. So again, like what they've done over the last 5 or 6 years, started with Richie Graham with wanting to do the academy. Richie Graham was the one who brought Ernst Tanner over, who I for me is probably the best GM in the league, but top 3. These things are really tight. But like, look, like every team wants to spend money efficiently, whether that's you're spending 10 million, whether you're spending 5 million or 500,000, like getting the best value for your money. And like the union over and over again with Kai Wagner, Jose Martinez, Leon Flock, like Jacob Glesnes, like just down the line, there's just so many players that come in that are like, oh my God, and they fit perfectly into the system. And Jim Curtin is a phenomenal man manager and developer. And then all of a sudden you get, the best team in the league competing with, teams like LAFC, Atlanta United that spend a whole lot more money. And it's like, oh, they're the Union are again.
Yeah, that's something I think that Jim said in his presser yesterday too, was we were always criticized, oh, they don't spend money. We were spending money, but we weren't spending it on players.
Yep.
We were building an academy.
Yep.
Like you said, we put in $1 million field that assists the way we play. So now you're starting to see that background money being spent coming up, while still also, barely spending for players. I mean, we got Mikel Ua for 2.8. And that's our record.
Club record, yeah.
Club record transfer.
Not just club record, but like shattered the previous one.
Shattered the club record. And that's like a regular transfer for Atlanta or LAFC or something.
That's not even a DP. That's barely a TAM player. Like Atlanta got Marcy Moreno for like $4 million, and he was the TAM player. And like that would have been like the double the transfer fee from Montero to him. Like it's wild what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what the Union are doing, and more and more teams, I'm sure, are going to follow that model. Just a couple more questions for you, Tom. You reported yesterday that Brenner, Cincinnati, had an offer from Udinese for $9 million plus add-ons and a sell-on fee. Would you be shocked if he's still with Cincinnati at the start of the season?
I'd be surprised, yeah. I don't think that Cincy will take this offer because it's the first offer. Like, genuinely, I was told this is the first official offer. There's been talks, there's been informal talks. But look, Udinese aren't the only team interested. Again, like they bought Brenner for $13 million at the time, overpay. It wasn't the current front office or the current technical staff. So maybe they're not going to be beholden to like, well, we paid 13, we have to get 15.
Right.
Like, I don't know what their number is, but $7 million plus 2 plus up to 9 is the all-in kind of potential fee. You don't accept the first offer. Like there's going to be more offers. I can say that pretty certainly. Like we'll see how much bigger it goes because this is kind of within the range. But like I don't know if you get to 10 or 12 million, and it throws sale on top of that to make money down the line. Like I think they might do that.
I mean that's what Cincinnati wants. More teams putting bids to put that price up higher and everything. And I believe it was reported that this is a type of player that back in 21 is when Brenner came into the league that. Typically, you want to come to MLS.
Yeah.
Like there was teams in Europe that were interested, but because of COVID and the situation, teams not having money, took that opportunity to come to MLS. And 2021 wasn't a great season with him. Pat Noonan now first season with Cincinnati. I mean that front three is up there with the Union.
Oh my God, yeah. The Cincy and the Union's front threes were probably my two favorite in the league. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head if I'm forgetting anybody. I'm sure I am, but like, man, like the way that Lucho worked with Brandon Vazquez and Brenner, like the three of them, like the Union have this as well with Carranza and Ura. Like, it's rare for forwards to be as unselfish as, and particularly like Brenner, this is Brazilian. He's been a starting center forward for the youth national team forever. Like Brandon Vazquez, starting center forward for the U.S. youth national team forever. Those are supposed to be selfish dudes, and they each had like 8 assists. Like, and like I've heard stories about like. There's one game where Brenner had 2 goals in the first half, and they were winning 3-0 at halftime. Like one of Cincy's like really big wins, and like Vazquez was like, man, like I fluffed the chance. Like he was obviously super happy. He's like mad at himself. He's like, I should be doing better. And it's like Brenner's like, dude, let's get you a goal in the second half. And like the same thing with Vazquez and Brenner. Like, dude, forwards don't say that to each other. Like it's awesome. Like I selfishly I would love to see that trio again, but like I think that they're gonna move on from Brenner. And again, when like you said, when Brenner came in 21, this isn't the destination. We're not fooling ourselves, right? Like the idea was to come here for 2-3 seasons and then go to Europe. So you have to fulfill that, and then you bring in the next super talented young player. Or if you want to hold them for ransom, which since you aren't doing, I want to obviously be transparent about that. But like if they were to be like, no, screw you, then the next Brazilian kid ain't coming to Cincinnati, right? Like so, like that's how it goes, and that's the kind of the culture that Cincy are building, that Philly have built. Like, so I assume whether it's over this month, this summer, or next winter, like he's not long for this league.
Do you think that that's a credit to Pat Noonan's coaching style and pretty much what he learned from Jim to be a man manager, where the guys are like, let's play, as Jim always says, there's no star, the team is the star. So, you need a goal, I'm going to help you get a goal. And do you think that actually might maybe have Pat keep Brenner one more season to link up 2 good seasons? Because, Cincinnati had 3 bad seasons in a row. They had 1 good season while selling off their top guy who's finally getting into form. Maybe bring them a step back. Do they hold on to him one more season, increase that value, and link 2 good seasons in a row?
Yeah, it is. It's always interesting, like what the fine line is, because you know, he wanted to leave last year because he was upset about how the first year went. There was offers to go back to Brazil, and the club were like, no, like, just believe us. Like, we think that you're going to thrive in Pat's system. We think that you're going to be great with Vazquez, and Lucho's going to be better. He's going to get more touches higher up the field. This is our tactic. This is what we want to do, and that kind of rang true. So I think last year was a time of, look, one more year. Like, again, we'll see what happens. You know, nothing's certain until the offer comes, like the acceptable offer comes in and all that. But yeah, like, I've heard that Pat's more of like a tactician, but who better to learn from in man management and relationships than Jim Curtin? And like Chris Albright being Ernst Tanner's number 2, like, and he was there with Ernie Stewart as well. With, like, Chris and Jim, like, built the foundation of what the Union are right now. And like, again, who better to learn from than Ernst Tanner with Chris Albright? And with Albright, like, I always go back to like the first interview he gave me when he took over Cincy, and it was like not a shot at Philly. It was just like, you know, it's just a fact. There are different targets I'm going to be able to look at now that like we have. There's just straight up. There's more money to spend on transfers at this club. Like, so I'm really excited to see what would happen if and when Brenner leaves. Who, like, I'm certain that he's got 3 or 4 guys in mind that, like, all right, if a DP spot opens, here's what I'd go after. Like, you know, right? Like, so I'm super curious to see how that, like, so that's why I also think that obviously it's very difficult to replace a guy who has 18 goals and 6 assists in 2,100 minutes. But, like, that's the nature of the game, and like I'm sure that they have targets ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 more for you, Tom. There was a report last night that the Union were potentially interested in acquiring Torres from Montreal.
Yeah.
Any truth to that?
There's interest. There have been preliminary talks, from what I've been told. I've heard, you know, that nothing's agreed yet because they have different valuations of the players. So like that's not exactly illuminating. But yeah, CL Merlot is really great. So if you see his name reporting something, you can assume it's true. Like he's that gold tier of reporting and sourcing. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. Like I didn't see that coming. I thought that they would go for like a more, I guess, traditional 9. Like Torres can play as an attacking midfielder or a second forward. So I guess he'd be covered for Gazdag or Carranza. And again, the Union are playing 55 games. Yeah. That role, that's Paxton Aronson, and they know that they need to replace him. They're going to play 55 games. So Torres, I thought was super interesting. The Union, when they've hit the trade market, it's been pretty solid. Like, they got Andres Pereira, they got Julian Carranza, obviously. They're in for Frankie and Maya. There's some other, like, talks that they had, like, and this was, like, when Frankie went to the Red Bulls. That, not anything that's current. Like, they hadn't used it a whole lot, but when they did, it's like, all right, like, we're treating this like we found somebody in South America that's worth $500,000 that we. So, like, when they go in the trade market, it's super specific, and, like, they've had a really good track record.
Tim's also talked about using a lot more flexibility in formations this season. So to grab a player like Torres that can play an attacking midfielder, they even say he can play a little bit of a winger. Yeah. So he definitely seems like a kind of guy that Ernst would go for if he can get him for the right price.
Yeah, and exactly. It goes down to the right price. But like Montreal have proved as well that they're not going to hold rent. They're not going to say $2.5 million GAM for a player who starts half of our games, right? Like, so it obviously all depends on how far they come down, how far the Union go up. But like, the talks are real. Like, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, people are surprised that Montreal's just shopping everybody. But you bring in a new coach. He wants his own guy. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. But
I thought Torres was going to get the first crack at replacing Mihailovic. So I was kind of surprised that Montreal didn't just say no, rejected out of hand. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tom, it's been a blast having you on the podcast. Where can people find you on social media if they're not following you?
Just at Tom Bogert. You just see me tweeting entirely too much. And then
you got a new Instagram too, right?
Yeah, Tom Bogert Saga. You know, I feel like I got to shill that a couple times. It feels weird. I'm like, follow me on Instagram. And I'm like, that's not my personality, man.
No, not at all. And catch him live on Twitter Spaces for the next month with extra time. So it should be a great time listening to you on there, Tom. Always a blast. And
appreciate
thanks so much.
I appreciate it.